Remember when I said Kansas was only a basketball school? I was wrong. The Jayhawks with a generational win, Andrew, against Oklahoma, and the Sooners are in trouble.
Plus, this week in college football, there was a little shakeup in a couple of the Power 5 conferences. We'll tell you where those conferences stand with just a month till bowl season.
And with the selection committee coming out with their first rankings tomorrow, we'll tell you as well where that stands in the CFP race. And Adam Gotkin will go head-to-head with you to talk about a whole lot more when No Pulp starts right now.
Kansas State has been on fire this year.
Missouri is one of the most fraudulent teams in college basketball.
And it was proved
They're not going to fire him. He's the best player in program history.
Side to Lawrence for the win! Yes! He got it!
She is the Shohei Ohtani of college softball. This is a team that's potentially going to be a top 10 team in the country.
How you feeling?
I'm excited to win the juicer.
LSU has captured its very first national championship.
Andrew Selvoer has a chance to win his first juicer of the fall, but we're not there just yet. We got so much more on No Pulp right now. Ian Nicholas alongside the aforementioned Andrew Selvoer. Thanks so much for joining us. Andrew, we got to start with the most stunning result of the weekend, and it had to be Kansas, a team that hadn't beaten Oklahoma since the 1990s, hadn't beaten a top 10 team since the 1980s, picking up a 38-33 win in Lawrence. And this really ultimately kind of kills Oklahoma's shot at a college football playoff spot.
Well, it doesn't kill it quite yet, because that's just one loss, right? And Oklahoma already has the win over Texas on the season.
But Texas is ranked higher than Oklahoma right now.
That's
for a
right,
reason,
that's right. But there's still a lot of football to be played. I tell you what, I'm more impressed with what Kansas did in this game. Come out with a strong start, and then you have to sit around for an hour with a lightning delay, and then to continue to prove yourself
Blaming it on the
against
lightning.
a top 10 team and pull off a victory, storm the field at home, massive win. And they carried those goalposts all the way to the lake, which was awesome.
Okay, well, Oklahoma's defense was carrying this team early on in the year, but now Brent Venables looks a little more, Andrew, in my mind, like Brett Vulnerables. Bum. You get it? Because his defense has given up 30 points each in the last 3 games, and he's supposed to be a defensive wizard, right? The guy who came from Clemson, fixed his program off his defensive mind, and now just like last year when they went 5-7, their defense against a backup quarterback in Jason Bean, I don't care about the Lightning, a backup quarterback beat him.
Yeah, and the offense wasn't great through the air either, and when Oklahoma needed to throw the ball at the end of the game, it really couldn't. Just 14 of 19, under 100 yards, no passing touchdowns, 1 pick for Dylan Gabriel. Problems on both sides of the ball right now, and possibly kind of a Texas win hangover after the win against the rivals, a bye, then just a 2-point win because of a 2-point conversion stop against UCF.
That's a good guy in John Reese Plumlee, your quarterback.
Now a loss to Kansas. That's back-to-back really bad results for the Sooners.
So why do you think they still have a chance to make the college football playoff if Texas is ranked higher than them right now, and you have 4 teams, you see 5 teams at the top of the Big 12 with identical conference records, in Oklahoma State coming up in Bedlam.
But if you just went out, if you're Oklahoma, you're in, right?
But you have to play Texas again,
sure,
and you're slumping in the middle of your season.
Sure. Do I think that they will make it all the way to the playoff? No, but do they have a chance? Yes. The problem is, if you got to win Texas, beat Texas again, that's a tough thing to do if you're Oklahoma.
I just think that there's too much pressure on this team right now, especially against a good Oklahoma State team that's won 4 in a row this weekend.
Fair enough. A big upset in the Big 12, but in the Pac-12, no upsets for the most part this week. But I'll tell you what, 2 weeks ago, arguably the biggest game of the year out on the West Coast, 2 undefeated teams, Washington, Oregon. The Ducks lose because they don't get it on a 4th down and miss a field goal on the road, and that meant that Washington was in the front seat to make it to the Pac-12 championship, to make it to the playoff. But now things starting to shift light a little bit after 2 interesting results this week, Ian. When you look at what happened in the Pac-12, Washington, a close win over Stanford. Oregon, a 1-loss battle with Utah, top 15 matchup, blew the brakes off of the Utes on the road.
Cam Rising was playing in that game?
No,
correct?
Cam Rising's redshirting for the year.
Right, because the backup quarterback who was playing nobodies now ran into a really good team with a dominant front 7, and he looked like a backup quarterback. So I get it. It's tough to win in Utah. I understand, but I still don't really care about that win because you know why? There's one loss. Oregon owns it, and they lost that game, as you said so well, against Washington a few weeks ago, didn't they?
But we talk about the hangover for Oklahoma after the win against Texas. A similar thing right now for the Huskies. You only win by 9 against Stanford. I mean, I know the Cardinal beat Colorado, but that's not a good Stanford team.
Justin Lamson's a talented quarterback. I understand. Look, we're in Syracuse. I had to bring up the guy, Justin Lamson, but they're still finding ways to win. They haven't had that stumble like Oklahoma had. And Michael Penix is still the best quarterback in the country.
No, he's not.
Yes,
no, he's
he
not.
is. As Desmond Howard said, and I'm fully believing in him, even though you shouldn't believe in much that Michigan has to say these days. I got that big Penix energy. Andrew, I got that big Penix energy right now. You understand why? Because he's the same age as the guy Bo Nix. He has less starts, he's more dynamic, and he has better weapons.
But Oregon's a far more balanced team, and Oregon beat Stanford 42-6. 42-6.
So you
That's
just don't care at all
weeks,
about the head-to-head result.
Back-to-back inconsistent weeks for the Huskies. 1 week your offense doesn't show up. 2 interceptions for Penix against a bad ASU team, and you only put up 1 touchdown offensively and win by a touchdown. And then the next week your defense can't do anything against Stanford, who can't score. I mean, there's major concerns right now for Washington.
So you don't care at all about the head-to-head? Right?
I do.
You're just
it
throwing
matters,
it out the window?
but
I want to make sure the people at home know you don't care.
If Oregon plays Washington again, Oregon's going to win the football game.
All right. Well, when they play them again, Washington's going to be undefeated, and they're going to win the Pac-12 championship. We'll talk more about that later in the show. We got to talk about your favorite team. And I know technically we're not supposed to share biases, but you grew up in Atlanta. You're a Georgia Tech fan. Can I say that? I've said it.
I'm shocked that they've made this show. I'll say that
They've made the show because 46-42 final score in Atlanta, North Carolina, the losers. Back-to-back losses for Drake May and Mac Brown. Is this team completely cooked, Andrew?
I mean, in terms of a playoff hope, this team is completely cooked.
Wasn't that already cooked when they lost to UVA?
No, but back-to-back really bad losses, and that's kind of been the rap for Mac Brown is, sure, he might have good teams, but he'll pull out some really bad losses, and you thought, okay, they would learn from this Virginia loss, but no.
How much can you blame this on Mac Brown?
The Yellow Jackets put up a showing at home.
No, you know who put up a show? Gene Chizik. He's the coach I want to single in on the Tar Heel staff. There's a reason why he was out of coaching for half a decade after his previous stint with North Carolina, Andrew, right? The guy cannot coach defense anymore.
That's right.
His defense gave up over. You see how much they were running for in that fourth quarter?
I mean,
they ran for over 200 yards in the fourth quarter, Georgia Tech did.
Dante Smith averaged 8 yards per carry, and Haynes King averaged 11. That defense is no good, and you feel bad a little bit for the offense because
I feel bad for a generational talent on that offense.
Omarion Hampton and Drake May did nothing wrong in this game. I mean, they put up 42 points, but still couldn't come away with a win, and playoff hopes are dashed in Chapel Hill.
Drake May is in the same situation on the East Coast that Caleb Williams is on the West Coast. Alex Grinch and Gene Chizik, they must be, and I hate to say this, the most hated men in their respective college towns, because they are holding back generational talents from actually doing something on the big stage.
That's a fair point. And in the ACC, North Carolina possibly out of the picture now.
But you know who is in the picture? Virginia Tech and Louisville. Who would have thought? I mean, obviously, I was high on Florida State in the preseason. I thought they were going to go to the college football playoff. No one else did. But I did not think Louisville and Virginia Tech would be playing on Saturday for potentially a spot to compete against them.
Quite a big game on Saturday. And I've got Virginia Tech winning it with Kyron Drones.
Wow.
That's a new Hokies team after a 1-3 non-conference slate. Well, that's a team.
No faith in Jeff Brom.
No, I've got the Hokies winning this weekend.
All right.
As we continue to move along, we move along from one win for a Georgia team to another, and that's the top team in the land. The Bulldogs under Kirby Smart winning yet again, dominating rival Florida 43-20. And the buildup in this one, Ian, was maybe this is an upset week for a Dogs team that really hasn't been challenged too much yet. A lot of experts picking the Gators, including former coach Stan Mullen, and after the game, Kirby Smart took a shot.
That we're not gonna, we're not gonna win today. And I'm just like, golly, where's that coming from? It's supposed to be my friend. He didn't like to recruit though, so it gets him.
He didn't like to recruit, though. How about that? How about that shot from Kirby
Now he's
Smart?
sitting in his studio.
Yeah, that's right. He's sitting in the studio and he's calling Virginia Tech football games on Thursday nights.
It doesn't get better than Thursday night in Lane Stadium.
No, it doesn't. But Dan Mullen's out. Kirby Smart's on top of the college football world. He can kind of say whatever he wants after his team puts on showings like this. And poor old Georgia, I tell you what, Kirby Smart pulls out miracles to make his players believe that they're not trusted.
The underdog.
Right.
That's what all the great ones do. Tom Brady did it in the NFL, and Kirby Smart has done it in the college game. Because, you know what, honestly, there were some speculations about this team. Because year in and year out, they have to turn over the roster. But they're just so good at, as we were talking about, recruiting. They just field a new team every year and they dominate. But this year, the question was, can Carson Beck get it done? And Andrew, I think he can get it done. Over 300 yards in this game, over 300 yards in 4 of the last 5 games, and he did it without Brock Bowers, arguably the best player in the country. He did it with the Lad McConkey, who is my guy.
I mean, Brock Bowers out for a couple of weeks, and just add it to the bulletin board material. Oh, they don't have pass catchers anymore. Well, Lad McConkey might be the best receiver in the country now for 135 yards.
I like McConkey and Dominic Lovett as much as the next guy. They're not Brock Bowers. They're not Marvin Harrison Jr.
That's a fair point, but Georgia continues to put on a showing, and the road doesn't get much easier. 3 ranked teams in a row, Missouri, Ole Miss, Tennessee, but right now I'm not sure there's any reason to believe that the Bulldogs don't just continue to steamroll through the SEC.
I 100% agree. It's a down year for the SEC.
You hear
a lot
that?
of people, what?
Ian, Andrew, agreeing. Wow.
We're never going to agree on Oregon and Washington, but we will agree on some things. But 2 guys who won't be agreeing when we come right back is the guy right here, who's apparently won the juicer before, and Adam Gotkin, who will challenge him for the throne when we come right back.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who wants to care of you.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Welcome back to No Pulp. Ian Nicholas alongside my co-host, Andrew Selvoer, and the challenger and the juicer, Adam Gotkin. Now, you've heard the intro to his show every week. Andrew brags that he wins the juicer and he's confident in his abilities. But
they're stacking the odds against me. Just because I said
it once, Georgia stacks the odds against you.
Just because I said it one week doesn't mean we need to play it every single week. I didn't ask for that.
Making excuses already, I see.
All right, well, let's throw the excuses at the end window. Let's get to question number 1 of 3. 3 questions this week. Whoever gets 2 right wins. And Andrew, first question for you. After the first October of the season, there's only 1 October in the season. That's a fun fact. Whose stock is going up the most?
In the month of October, the team I've got that went up on the stock boards the most, up on Wall Street, well, I've got the Arizona Wildcats out on the West Coast. That's a pick that Adam Gotkin wanted, and I took it from him. That's because the Wildcats went into the month at 3-2, just 1 win in the conference. And everybody's like, wow, this team's probably not making a bowl game. They're no good. And then an overtime loss to USC, a 44-6 win against number 19 Washington, and a 27-24 win over Oregon State. You talk about the toughest conference this year in college football, and guess what? The Wildcats made easy work of it and just shot up the boards 5-3. Bowl game on lock for Arizona.
Wow.
But this is a football team that has 3 losses and is out of the picture of actual meaningful football games.
That's right.
I've got Ole
People
Miss.
doubted them.
Hotty toddy. I love Lane Kiffin's team this year. Just 1 loss, and I think that they have maybe the best quarterback in the SEC, if not the best, definitely the second best in Jackson Dart. This is a team that got 3 solid conference wins this week.
Solid?
3 solid wins. If
Who'd
you
they
go
beat?
back, 3 solid wins. 3 solid wins are 3 solid wins. When you look at college football this year, just not losing is a good thing, and they play Georgia next month. You know, the last time they played Georgia, they won. So, I mean, hey, we're talking about an Ole Miss team that has looked good this month. That has just 1 loss.
On the court, on the judge, on the jury,
know who they played,
on the executioner.
and they don't play Georgia
I'm executing
in October.
this argument. I got to hand out a point here. Your argument is that they beat solid teams and didn't lose? Okay.
He didn't even
They have
have
3 losses.
Arizona gets the point.
Thank you.
Andrew Selvoer gets the point. He goes ahead 1-0. But just like Sean Dempsey, VEP of Market Shares, does every Friday here on Citrus TV. That show goes live on 4 on Friday afternoons. Stock goes up, stock goes down. Whose stock went down the most, Adam, in the month of October?
Andrew, I'm going to need your help here. We are...
Penn State.
Yeah, the Nittany Lions. Their stock went way down for me because people were talking about James Franklin team this year as someone that could make the college football playoff. They actually had a real quarterback. No, they don't. Drew Aller did not look good against Ohio State. This team almost lost to Indiana. They beat Indiana, who was 2-5 going into the game, by single digits. This is a Penn State team that, without Chop Robinson on defense, has not looked good at all recently. They're only a 10.5-point favorite against Maryland. The Terps just lost to a horrible Northwestern team, if that says anything about Penn State.
Adam, what ranking did Penn State enter the month at?
What are they, like 5, 6, somewhere
No,
in that area?
it was 7.
7, okay.
This is a numbers guy.
And
This is a stocks guy.
And they came out of the month at number 9.
Yeah, they have no chance now.
They've only got 1 loss. They beat Michigan. They make it to the Big Ten title.
That's not gonna
they
happen.
win that game. They're in the playoff.
Who's
Instead,
asking for a lot?
I'll give you a team that's
Who is the
4-0
team?
going into the month, and now they're 4-4 because they lost 4 games. That's Washington State. Entered the month of October at 4-0, headed into Pac-12 play, ranked top 15 in the country. And then let's rattle off the losses for Washington State.
Rattle
They
them
lose
off.
to UCLA, unranked by 8.
Not
They
a bad
lose
loss.
to Arizona, unranked by 40, lost to Oregon by 14, and lost to a winless in-conference play Arizona State team by 11. Not one of their losses was to a ranked team, and still, except for Oregon, and still, they're 4-4 after entering the month undefeated and number 13 in the country.
I thought you loved Arizona.
I do, but they lost to them by 4-0.
It's too hot for me in Arizona, to be perfectly honest. And I don't really care about Washington State. Although I came up here last show and I said,
They were 4-0, and they're 4-4.
yeah, but Penn State was a national title contender, and now they're not.
Yes, they
Right.
still are.
No, they're not. They
They're
have no
number 9
chance.
in the
If
country.
they can't beat Kyle McCord, they're not beating
We've lost
JJ
our mind
McCarthy.
on this show.
Point goes to
That's
Adam
terrible.
Gotkin.
That's terrible.
Thank you. Rightfully so.
You couldn't even name 5 players on Washington State. That's why you don't get the point. Okay, stock man, it's back to you here. Tell me whose stock is going up the most in November, and tell me why Sean Dempsey should pick you to be on Market Shares this week.
I'll give you a team that's ranked number 8 in the country. It's the Alabama Crimson Tide. And you'll say, what? That's not a team that can go very far up. Well, yes, they are, because
Okay.
nobody's talking about Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide. Nobody said a word about them since they lost their 1 game of the year to Texas and then put out 2 quarterbacks that stink, and Saban knew it in an exhibition against South Florida because he knew what he was doing. And now they've got the Tide rolling. Best coach in the land is going to get wins over LSU, Kentucky, Auburn, and then oh, looky here, after the month of November, Alabama's going to be playing for the SEC title and playing to get into the playoff. And that's going to be a magic trick out of nowhere from Nick Saban.
Andrew, listen to the question. Who will go up in November? I don't care about the SEC title game. That is in December. I'm talking about a team that can do some real stuff this month, and that's UCLA. The Bruins have a chance to maybe even make it to the Pac-12 title game with how things have gone. They've got a pretty easy schedule coming up.
I'm
the only
listening. I
ranked
have
team
to
that
listen.
they play is USC, who does not look good at all. This is a Bruins squad that I think is one of the better offenses in the country. Dante Moore is going to be a top 5 quarterback in the country. He's going to be a top 5 pick in a couple of years. Ethan Garbers, their other quarterback, is also a stud. I mean, this is a team that's ranked and is still in a competition. And then outside of that, Carson Steele, the Ball State transfer, is an incredible running back, averaging over 5 yards a carry. This is a team that puts it all together at the end, ends the season with 2 losses, and is a potential top 15, top 10 team. Alabama's staying at like 9. They're
I'm
going to
ringing
get
the bell on Wall Street.
One of them's got a chance to go to the playoff.
in December.
Okay, you said there's still a quarterback competition going on at UCLA?
Yeah, and they're still winning all these games.
That's a little concerning. You always got to invest in the stocks that consistently cash in. Chip Kelly doesn't cash in often. This isn't 2013.
Does Jaden Milroe cash in?
No, but
Jalen
Milroe. Sorry, Jalen Milroe.
And that's the Crimson Tide. And that's the juicer win.
Andrew Selvoer.
Thank you. Pleasure doing business
Here's
with you.
the thing, Adam. You get the quarterback's name wrong. You have a quarterback competition on our hands going into November. We've got a problem.
I'm ready to win the juicer, everybody.
You know what? I have a feeling next time around it won't go your way. You're just getting too lucky on this show. But you know,
has any opponent ever won?
I've won and he's won.
Exactly.
We've all done it before. You couldn't get it done.
Get this guy off the
Let's
show.
see what 4 teams can get it done in a college football playoff race. When we return, Andrew and I reveal our selections for the top teams that we think make the playoff before the selection committee gets to it on Tuesday.
We're back. No Pulp. Calm down. It's time to get into the playoff picture after a heated...
I'm pretty calm, by the way.
I know. I got to
You're
calm
the
down
guy
over
who was, like, yelling.
A heated juicer conversation. Tomorrow, the College Football Playoff Committee releases its first rankings of the season, and we actually get ahead of the news, Ian, and give out our top 4 picks for the College Football Playoff coming up in 2023. Who you got?
Okay, well, I've been on this program before, and I've said how much of a hatred that I have for Ohio State. And, you know, Ryan Day is a little overconfident in his abilities. He hasn't really proven a whole lot. He's proven a lot this year. I give him credit. He's got really a lot of signature wins, the most out of any team in the college football playoff race right now. That's why they're number 1 for me.
A newfound friendship.
It's more of like a part-time partnership.
Okay, that's fair.
Because I just have no choice, right? They've left me. Number 2 is Georgia. Because like we talked about previously in this show, the Bulldogs are the best team in the country, and until proven otherwise, they will remain the best team in the country because 11 on 11, you can't beat them. My 3rd team is a team that I had going to the playoff in the preseason, and everybody said I was ridiculous, Florida State. Florida State got those early season wins that it needed to get, and if you have an undefeated team out of a major conference, you're going to get to the playoff. It's just a fact.
It's automatic.
And number 4, I've got the team that I stood on my box hypothetically for earlier, and now I actually stand on the box to go for them. Michael Penix in Washington, because I don't care for what Dan Lanning has to say in his press conferences. The only substance I see out of the Pac-12, only thing I see out of the Pac-12 that's undefeated is Washington.
My question, if they're undefeated, why are they in the 4 spot? Are all these teams undefeated?
At the end of the year, are all of them going to finish undefeated?
Yeah.
Yes, we're going to finish. Obviously, if Oregon beats them in the Pac-12 championship game, they're not going to get there.
That's fair. That's fair. I got a similar start to you. I've only got 1 undefeated team in my college football playoff this year. Let's show them. Duck down, Ian. Get out of the way. Ohio State. The Buckeyes are going to go undefeated. They're going to beat Michigan.
We're on the same
They're
page.
going to win the Big Ten title.
Right.
they're going to be in at the 1 seed undefeated.
And can we clarify that Michigan not going to make the playoff?
That's right, because they'll lose to Ohio State.
There we go.
Big brother.
Big brother.
Number 2, let's give it to the Alabama Crimson Tide. They just won me the juicer, and they're going to win out. They're going to beat Georgia. They're going to get into the playoff. And then if we go to number 3, we're going to go to another team that's already lost 1 game, and they're going to win another game and win the Pac-12 title.
And another game.
That's the Ducks. Go Ducks. The Ducks are going to beat Washington.
See, that's where you
that's
and I
the 3 seed for me.
That's where we don't agree.
That's okay. And 1 loss, Georgia. They have to get in. Yes, they'll lose to Alabama. And then I'll give out a title pick. These are my 2 favorites. Alabama wins the national championship.
How does Alabama make the national championship with Georgia in a weak SEC?
Because they're good at football. And Nick Saban is the best coach in the country.
Okay, you're living in a few years ago.
All right. Well, we'll tell you on the other side of a quick break what we thought were the best moments this week in college athletics. Our final words are next when we return to No Pulp.
I see you mobbing over her. Let's go. Let's mob. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, we mobbing. Come on, girl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.
Hey everybody, Ian Nicholas back here on No Pulp. You'll hear from Andrew Selvoer in just a second, but first, I gotta show you my play of the week this year. Play of the week this year? Okay, I'm getting a bit of ahead of myself. I meant to say my play of the week from my player of the year, Marvin Harrison Jr. You need to get one more look at this. He gets punched in the face when making this catch. Jaw-dropping is the perfect way to describe it in a gutsy win against Wisconsin where Kyle McCord played bad. Once again, Maserati Marv bailed him out, and that's why he's the best player in the country over Brock Bowers, who's hurt.
Ian, I'll take you to the great state of Indiana, South Bend, Indiana, to be exact, for my play of the week. Sure, the Irish might have lost to the Buckeyes earlier this season. Had they not lost to the Cardinals of Louisville, they'd still be in the conversation for the playoff. It's thanks to plays like this. How about Chris Tyree? He fields the punt inside his own 20. He's tackled once, he's tackled twice, he's tackled 3 times, and he ducks under, and he sprints past, and he dodges, and he jukes, and he takes it all the way 82 yards to the house for Chris Tyree, a punt return touchdown that started an onslaught of scoring for Notre Dame.
Every team that plays Pitt this year has put on an onslaught because the Panthers are 2-6. This is not the same Pitt team that had Kenny Pickett and Jordan Addison. And you know what? I think their head coach, Pat Narduzzi, agrees.
I'll go back. I mean, you, as a football coach, you lose a lot of good players a year ago. You think as a coach you're gonna replace them. We obviously haven't. And again, it starts with me.
It starts with you. It should have always started with you, Coach. You should have never said we don't have good players. That's your job. Aren't you the guy who slandered Deion Sanders earlier on this year for doing his job, getting good players to come to his team? Wasn't it you who said if we were in the Big Ten, we'd be winning every single year? And was it you who ran out of those good players and now is going to be run out of town because people are quote tweeting that exact clip on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. They're quote tweeting it, and it's not just pundits and media people, it's his own players. That's how you lose a locker room 101. See you later, Coach.
So Ian takes the negative route for his final word. For my final word, I'll take a little more of a positive route. And one of the best things I saw this week in college athletics, we've already talked 29 minutes about football. So let's take you to some college basketball. I know it's not ready for the regular season yet, but I don't care. It's time for an exhibition, a packed house in Lansing, Michigan State and Tennessee. The band's there, the students are all there. An electric atmosphere. It was Sunday. I had already watched enough football on Saturday. I didn't need to watch the NFL. So I said, oh, you know, there's an exhibition. Probably not going to be a good game. But no, we were throwing down dunks on people's heads. We were making it rain from down deep. And these two teams put on a show, an 89-88 win for Tennessee. And at the end of the day, we're wearing our Hawaiian shirts. We can all shake hands because we raised a lot of money and funds for relief in Maui, a place that means so much to college basketball. And boy, after that performance by those two teams, I can't wait for the college basketball season to begin, Ian.
Fair enough, Andrew. Very passionate. Were you there? It felt like you were almost there. The game was so
awesome.
Good. Well, it was an awesome week for college athletics, period. Always awesome to be alongside Andrew Selvoer. Ian Nicholas signing off for our entire No Pulp crew. We'll see you soon.